Okay, this is my book. Hold on.
Can you read it to me?
Yes, I can read it to you. I read this book from the library. I recognized Chimamanda's name from a TED Talk that I watched on YouTube. It's okay. Hey, can I do this book review?
Yeah.
I can. Okay, thank you. So I read this. It's a letter to her friend, and it's called A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions. And as I was reading it, I skimmed through it, I think 3 times. Well, I skimmed through it twice, and then I fully read it a 3rd time. The 2nd time that I read it, I talked about it with Cody, and then I was like, you know, I think I want to do a book review on this for when Capri gets older. I want her to know what I liked about this book. So then I read it the 3rd time all the way through, and then I took notes. You can see these little... You don't want to be over there? Just let me do this book review, and then you can have it after that, okay? So I just basically went through her 15 suggestions and picked out like a line in each one that I liked. This book is great. It's a really short read. Can you grab Capri? She's melting down. 63 pages. Very short, small book. And I read this in like, when I read this all the way through, it was like what, an hour?
Yeah, something like that.
Like not very long at all, like an hour. Probably, maybe less than that. Okay, first thing first, her first suggestion so this is a letter to her friend about becoming a new mom of a daughter, and it's how to become a feminist, basically. So the first thing she suggests for her friend's daughter is to teach her to be a full person. Motherhood is a glorious, oh actually I guess she's telling her friend be a full person too. Be a full person, motherhood is a glorious gift, but do not define yourself solely by motherhood. Be a full person, your child will benefit from that. So many thoughts on that. First of all, Capri, I want you to know that I struggled so much with becoming a stay-at-home parent. I worked until Capri was, let's see, she was born in October, and I worked until May, I think. And then after that, that's when my twins died. My twins died right before that, and then after that I didn't go back to work. But anyway, that decision to stop working was based mostly on the fact that Cody has more potential for earning money right now, because his job makes like 4 times what I was making at my job as a teacher. And furthermore, it just works out that way. I don't know. Like I feel like I've accepted my assignment to be a stay-at-home parent right now, but I also think if things were different, if I had known that I could have a job when I was little and growing up and even as a young adult, I feel like I could have put myself on a path that would have given me employment, that would have allowed me to go out and work, and Cody would like to stay home and watch the kids. And that's not just something that he says, like he tells me that all the time, like I'd love to be a stay-at-home parent. I want to watch these kids. I want to raise these kids. And I'm just like, oh, and I'm the opposite. Like I love what I do. I love raising my children, but I would also love to be employed. But right now, when I was teaching, I was paying half of my salary to babysitters, and I was only having somebody watch Capri like half the time, because Cody, his schedule allowed him to watch Capri half the time, but the other half of the time I was paying half my salary to have her watched on half of the days that I taught, which is insane. Like that's so much money for babysitting and daycare, that I realized when I had my second kid, well, when I was pregnant with twins, I thought I was gonna have those kids, I was like, oh, I can't afford daycare, and so I stopped working, and Cody continued working. Anyway, that's a long story, but basically, be a full person, figure out what makes you happy. When I stopped working and became a full-time parent, I picked up reading. I read a lot of books, I read a lot of articles, and writing. I'm trying to figure out how, like what type of books I want to write, like children's books and also just regular fiction. And YouTube. That's another thing that I started putting more time and energy into, because I wanted something to do with my time and with my life. So basically be a full person. Don't have it be just parenthood that you worry about, or that you're like set your eyes on for later. Because when I was younger, I thought that was the only thing I could do. Like, I thought like, oh, like education is great, but my husband will do all the work. And now I'm like, oh, I wish somebody had told me to get a job and like do something so that I could have that possibility. Because you never know if you're gonna marry someone like Cody, who would prefer to stay home and watch kids, and me, who would rather go out and work. Like, we would really probably do better if we switched, but due to how I was raised, I don't have any career path at this time. I could go get one, but I thought, and I feel like it makes more sense for me to stay home, spend my time with my children, raise them, and when they are old enough, then I will go down a career path in the future. Okay, I meant for this to be way shorter. I just totally went off on a tangent. But next one, number 2, second suggestion is to do it together, do parenting together. I like this line that said, she won't die at the hands of her father. He loves her and it's good for her to be cared for by her father. So look away. Arrest your perfectionism. Still your socially conditioned sense of duty. Share childcare equally. When I put everything into parenting, when I became a stay-at-home parent, when Cody would come home and try to do something like, I don't know, bathing or dressing her or doing whatever, I'd always be like, oh, like micromanage, like, oh, you're doing that wrong. Oh, you better do it like this. This is the better way. And after a while, I just had to like totally chill and just be like, do it how you want to do. It doesn't matter. If her hair doesn't look that great, that's fine. If her outfit's not what I would choose, that's okay. Like, when I had everything focused on just parenting, then it made it feel like it was my reputation and like it was a reflection of me, and so I wanted it to be done perfectly. But when I took the emphasis away on like, this is my job, and I got other interests, reading, writing, YouTube, stuff like that, then it was easier for me to let him do things his way and to do it not how I would do it, and that was fine. So I like that line. Look away, arrest your perfectionism, still your socially conditioned sense of duty, and share childcare equally. Like, you really just have to let the other parent do things how they want to do it. Like, don't micromanage. Third suggestion is on gender roles. I like this part that says, we also need to question the idea of marriage as a prize to women, because that is the basis of these absurd debates, like cooking being a marriageability test for women. If we stopped conditioning women to see marriage as a prize, then we would have fewer debates about a wife needing to cook in order to earn that prize. Marriage is not a prize. Marriage is something that may or may not happen. It's not a reward. It's not a prize. It's not like, ooh, look at me, I'm so great, I got married. It's like, I found someone that I love and I want to spend my life with that person, and we're going to build a family together if we want to, like at least 2 of us in a family, maybe with kids. It's not a prize. And it should be the same concept for boys and girls. Number 4, actually I think we're still in number 3. Number 3 still is, okay, this is talking about one of her friends who went to a play group for her kid, her 1-year-old, and she said that the friend noticed that the mothers of baby girls were very restraining, constantly telling the girls, don't touch, or stop and be nice. And she noticed that the baby boys were encouraged to explore more and were not restrained as much and were almost never told to be nice. Her theory was that parents unconsciously start very early to teach girls how to be. The baby girls are given less room and more rules, and baby boys are given more room and fewer rules. That's something I consciously try to be aware of with my parenting, that I give my children a lot of room and space and fewer rules and restrictions, and I just let them live their lives. We were talking about how we went to the DMV the other day, and Zoe was asleep in the car, and so I stayed in the car with her for a minute, and Cody went in with Capri, and he says he was in line, and it was like a really long wait, and Capri was just kind of running around, and people were looking at him like, oh, so cute, a dad out with his daughter, that's adorable. And she was just kind of doing her thing. And then when Zoe woke up, I brought her in, and I noticed within minutes everyone's eyes were watching Capri, because I handed Zoe to Cody, he was holding Zoe, I was just standing there watching Capri run around, and I noticed all eyes were on her, and like 40 people were like just watching her, and I'm like, and I let her roam. So she like walks around, she went over to the vending machine, went over to the drinking fountain, went over and looked at a little girl, went over and watched people in their chairs, and it's fine, like I let her wander. But everyone's eyes were like, what is this little girl doing? She's very little, why is she alone? And he says that he didn't even see that at all before I got there, but as soon as I got there, everyone was like, zoom, what's the mom gonna do? Like, the dad was incapable, and that's why she was running around. And then the mom came, and she wasn't watching her kid. Like, what the heck? But we have the same parenting style and strategy. It's just that it gets viewed differently as a dad and as a mom. But I try to give my children space. Like, I'm always watching for their physical safety, but I try to let them go explore and like look at other people, like to see what it's like to look at the eyes of another person without me hovering. So that's just something that I think is interesting, and that's more inclined, we're as a society more inclined to let boys roam and do what they want, but we're more inclined to keep girls locked up close tight to us. Okay, another one. Oops, I took out my bookmark. Where was this one? Okay. I think we're on number 5, but whatever, I don't know the points anymore, the numbers. Okay, this one says, the writer had accused me of being angry, as though being angry were something to be ashamed of. Of course I'm angry. I'm angry about racism. I'm angry about sexism. But then she came to the realization that she's angry about sexism than racism. But the point is, people often think it's wrong for a woman to be angry, when really there's a lot of reasons for people to be angry in the world. And especially now that people are becoming more open about women's rights and equality and feminism, which is equality and women's rights. But those aren't bad things. It's fine to be angry. You don't have to be nice and sweet and whatever all the time. Okay, we're still on number 4. Here is the sad truth. Our world is full of men and women who do not like powerful women. We've been so conditioned to think of power as male that a powerful woman is an aberration, and so she is policed. We ask of powerful women, is she humble? Does she smile? Is she grateful enough? Does she have a domestic side? Questions we do not ask of powerful men, which shows that our discomfort is not with power itself, but with women. We judge powerful women more harshly than we judge powerful men. Yep. I recently had my last interview with the social worker. Well, it's the lady who did our home study to certify us as foster parents, and her last comments to me were like, I had a hard time reading what her emotion was, but she was kind of like, this is how I felt like she said it. She's like, so I get the impression that you're more of the independent, strong woman type. And I was like, yep. She's like, okay, like not in a bad way, but like you seem to be more like assertive. And I was like, mm-hmm. She's like, okay, because you kind of like know what you're doing, and like you backpacked South America for 6 months, and like you kept your last name. And I was like, yep. And she's like, okay. Like it felt like she was trying to figure out how to write me into the home study, like how she's going to describe me as a parent. But it seemed like she was like almost apologetic about that. Like, is this right? And I'm like, yeah, of course that's right. Like, yeah, I'm very independent. I'm very strong-willed. And she even said something like, and it kind of feels like you kind of like run the show a little bit. And I was like, oh, definitely. I was like, I always run the show. Like, that's my personality. Like, because she was saying like how I was the driving force in foster care. I was like, yeah, I'm the driving force in foster care. And like, and most other things. Like, Cody's very laid back and just go with the flow. And I'm very not. I'm very like, let's go do this. Let's go change the world. Let's blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, okay. And I just thought that was interesting how she thought that that was something I would not want to be labeled as. And I was like, go ahead and label me as that. That's fine. That's how I am. This cold is killing me. I can't even talk very well. Okay. 5th suggestion, teach her to read. Totally agree with that. We have books all day, every day. And I like to have Capri watch me read. Like, she watched me read this and she kept trying to take it away from me and like stop me from reading it, but Zoe's all the way in my room. Hold on. Okay. Look over here. There you go. She had crawled into my room. Okay, she was playing with the cord. Anyway, I want to have my children watch me read and see that that's how I spend my time, because I think it's so vital to learning and experiencing the world. Like, you have to read what other people think about the world. There's a lot that I agree with in this book. There's a few parts that I'm just like, no, not for me. Like tiny bits. Like, I'll just be like, oh, that, whatever. But that's okay. It's okay to not agree 100% with everything, but you do need to read. You do need to see what people think. This woman is from Nigeria. She spends her time now living between the United States and Nigeria. And I need to know what she thinks, not only about Nigeria, but about the United States and about the world, life, being a woman of color. I need to learn, and I need to read other people's voices, and I want my children to see that. Okay. Teacher number 6, teach her that if you criticize X in women but do not criticize X in men, then you do not have a problem with X, you have a problem with women. For X, please insert words like anger, ambition, loudness, stubbornness, coldness, ruthlessness. Yeah, okay. Also, let's see. I'm trying to I have these little notes, and now I can't remember what those were. Like little arrows. I'm like, where's that pointing to? I think it's on this side. Okay. Okay, yeah, this part. Teach her to question men who can have empathy for women only if they see them as relational rather than as individual equal humans. Men who, when discussing rape, will always say something like, if it were my daughter or wife or sister. Yet, such men do not need to imagine a male victim of crime as a brother or son in order to feel empathy. Teach her, too, to question the idea of women as a special species. I once heard an American politician, in his bid to show his support for women, speak of how women should be revered and championed, a sentiment that is all too common. Tell her that women actually don't need to be championed and revered. They just need to be treated as equal human beings. There's a patronizing undertone to the idea of women needing to be championed and revered because they're women. It makes me think of chivalry, and the premise of chivalry is female weakness. I think that's huge, especially in religion. I think that a lot of religions teach that women are angelic, women are angels. And there's one phrase that I frequently hear at church that drives me insane. They're like, oh, my sweet wife, my sweet friend, my sweet sister. And I always think to myself, if anyone ever calls me sweet, I will be so mad. I never want anyone to say, oh, Casey is the sweetest woman. She's the sweetest girl. Like, please don't call me sweet. Call me intelligent, call me smart, call me controversial if you want. Call me different. Call me a feminist if you want. Call me anything you want, but don't say that I'm sweet. I don't want to go through life being seen as someone who is sweet. Thank you. Number 7, 7th suggestion. Never speak of marriage as an achievement. Marriage is not an achievement, nor is it what she should aspire to. Yeah, we do not condition boys to aspire to marriage. We only condition girls to that. So there's already a terrible imbalance at the start. Yep, the girls will grow up to be women preoccupied with marriage. The boys will grow up to be men who are not preoccupied with marriage, and then the women marry those men. The relationship is automatically uneven because the institution matters more to one than to the other. Yep, I agree with all of that. Marriage is something that may or may not happen. Marriage may or may not happen, but we don't need to teach it to girls like, oh, you're gonna marry this man, a good man someday. Like, if you're gonna teach it to your daughter, you better teach it to your son. And if you're not gonna teach it to your son, then don't teach it to your daughter. Like, marriage can happen or not, but that's not our purpose in life, like to become married only. That's one piece of life. That's one portion and one bit of life, but it's not life. Life is not my marriage to Cody. Like, that's a great aspect of my life, but it's not only everything about my life. It's just a piece of my life. I don't know what they're doing in there, but that's cute. Laughter. Number 8. Instead of teaching her to be likable, Teach her to be honest and kind and brave. Encourage her to speak her mind, to say what she really thinks, to speak truthfully, and then praise her when she does. Praise her especially when she takes a stand that is difficult or unpopular because it happens to be her honest position. Tell her that kindness matters and praise her when she's kind, but teach her that kindness must never be taken for granted. Blah, blah, blah. Kindness is great, but also honesty, kindness, bravery, speak her mind, speak truthfully. Don't worry about who likes you or not. That doesn't matter. Number 9. Because of the power dynamics in the world, and also I might add, here's like the 9th suggestion, but I'm just taking a phrase out of like the next page down here. Like I'm not summarizing everything, I'm just taking a bit. Number 9. Because of the power dynamics in the world, she will grow up seeing images of white beauty, white ability, and white achievement, no matter where she is in the world. On TV, pop culture, books, etc. And then it says, find black heroes, men and women in history. They exist. I think that's important to show different races. Like, it's not just a white world. And even though myself and my children are white, we are not everything.